Hello, I'm Kelly Atkinson, Northern Region Vice President of the National Martha Point Marine Association, and this is your Right to Fight military moment. Today we're taking a different path. Instead of spotlighting a service member, we're telling the story of a civilian whose work changed the United States military forever. His name is Phillip Randolph, and even though he never wore a military uniform, his voice and courage opened doors for thousands of African American men and women who did serve. Phillip Randolph was born in 1889. He grew up in a time when African Americans faced strict segregation, low wages, and very few job opportunities. But Randolph believed deeply in fairness and equality. He also believed that ordinary working people, when united, could change the country. He became the leader of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, the first successful African American labor union in American history. These porters worked for the Pullman Company on railroads. They carried bags, made beds, shined shoes, and served passengers day and night. Their hours were long, their pay was low, and they were often treated with disrespect. Randolph helped them organize, speak up, and demand better wages and working conditions. It took 12 long years of pressure, but in 1937, the Porters won their first major contract. Their victory became a powerful symbol of black workers standing up for themselves and winning. So why does a labor union matter to America's service members? Because the Pullman Porters were not just workers. They served as leaders in their communities. They were respected, widely traveled, and deeply informed about the world. Many of them were veterans themselves. The improvements won by Randolph lifted up thousands of black families, giving them more stability, confidence, and opportunity. And then came World War II. By the early 1940s, African Americans wanted to support the war effort, but the military still kept them in limited or segregated roles. Defense industries also shut them out of good jobs. Randolph saw that this wasn't just unfair, it was dangerous to the future of the country. So he decided to do something bold. In 1941, Randolph called for a march on Washington. He demanded equal access to defense jobs, an end to discrimination in hiring, and fair treatment for black service members. This was more than 20 years before Dr. King's famous March on Washington. The ideal shocked the White House. Thousands of African Americans were preparing to travel to Washington, D.C. during wartime preparation to protest their unfair treatment. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt didn't want that level of national tension while America was at this critical point, but Randolph refused to back down. At the last moment, Roosevelt agreed to create Executive Order 8802, which banned discrimination in the defense industries and set up the Fair Employment Practices Committee to enforce it. The march was called off, but victory was enormous and opened doors for black workers in industry, including many who later served in or supported the armed forces. Randolph wasn't finished. After World War II, African American veterans returned home expecting fairer treatment, but many still faced the same discrimination. So Randolph turned his focus directly to the military. He pressured President Harry Truman, arguing that no nation could claim to defend freedom overseas while practicing discrimination in its own ranks. Truman listened. In 1948, he issued Executive Order 9981, which began the desegregation of the United States Armed Forces. Without Randolph's steady pressure and the movement he built, that executive order might not have happened for many more years. I would also like to make a mention here of the black press, newspapers like the Chicago Defender, the Pittsburgh Carrier, who ran the Double V campaign, calling for a victory against fascism abroad and victory against discrimination at home. Their reporting supported black troops and exposed the unfair treatment many face. Together, these civilians formed a support network that lifted morale, demanded fairness, and gave African American troops a national voice. Phillip Randolph's work still matters today. He proved that patriotism isn't limited to wearing a military uniform. Patriotism also means working to make the nation live up to its ideals. His organizing helped thousands of African American service members gain better opportunities. better treatment, real paths for promotion, and a sense that their country valued their sacrifice. Randolph once said, "Freedom is never given, it is won." The generations of service members who followed in Korea, Vietnam, the Cold War, and beyond marched through the doors that he helped open. So today, we honor a civilian who made a military difference. Phillip Randolph didn't fight on the battlefield, but he fought for justice, and his work undoubtedly strengthened the United States Armed Forces. I'm Kelly Atkinson, and this has been your Right to Fight military moment.